Ethel Cain is an alternative pop singer with a cult following online, mostly made up of Gen Z. And this musician posted vocal support for Luigi Mangione over the weekend, saying essentially that they support violence against rich people and CEOs as the only viable path to making political change happen. And this was openly posted on Instagram. And just think about this asymmetry for a second. Think about what happened to Kanye, him getting dropped by all of these brands he was affiliated with, getting banned from his bank, getting dropped by the talent agencies, dropped by countless friends, family members for his controversies.
Yeah.
And then think about this person who is not even a fraction as much of a cultural icon, receiving zero backlash and zero industry pushback for statements such as this. Ethel Cain posted, reposted rather, this statement on Instagram stories. Big oil buys off Congress, no action on climate. The NRA buys off Congress, no action on guns. Insurance companies buy off Congress, no action on healthcare. The list goes on and on. Money in politics is the root of our dysfunction. So above this repost, which there's nothing inherently wrong with that political statement, above that repost, Ethel Cain added the caption, hashtag, and this is a quote, I'm not saying this myself, it says hashtag kill more CEOs above that post. And then tempted to expand upon this idea, here were the next follow-up posts on the Instagram stories. Not even trying to be reactionary or edgy or say shit for shock value. I genuinely mean what I say. Corporations giggle at protesting. Why would anyone ever willingly come down off their throne that they've spent years building off the suffering of their fellow man? Nobody is getting visited by the ghost of Christmas future. No one is having a change of heart. It's simple. You make them fear for their lives and hit them in the only place they hurt, or nothing will ever get done. I don't see how that's an incredibly radical idea. It seems quite straightforward to me. Violence is never the answer? Wrong. Sometimes it is. The world is burning, and it's very clear who is holding the matches. That was the conclusion of those posts. And I know that Luigi wasn't, referenced by name in those posts, but it's very clear that this was a statement in support of the murder of Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO. It's not that much of a stretch of the imagination what was being implied here. And this is a direct incitement to violence. So I'm just wondering, is this part of the new meta policy? People aren't going to get banned for making statements like this that are actual incitements to violence. People with huge platforms.
Zuckerberg just goes the whole opposite way.
Yeah. And I can't say I'm surprised. I was aware of Ethel Cain's existence and brand before I saw this post. So I think it's predictable from someone like this singer to make a statement like this. But what's kind of pathetic about it is I would expect to see posts like this from actual children, like middle schoolers, high schoolers, just teenagers who don't know how the real world works, not a grown adult who is 26 years old. You definitely should know better well before then than to say things like this, especially when you have a platform this size that you use to promote your music to people who are generally much younger than you.
So the new album came up 3 days prior, right? Or right around this time?
Yes, Ethel Cain's new Ethel Cain's new album Perverts just came out days ago, and suddenly here's this big splash in the media of Ethel Cain saying something that's super controversial. I can't imagine why this timing would be advantageous.
There is nothing funnier than using hyperbolic, violent, anti-capitalist rhetoric to promote your capitalist music endeavor.
Right.
I'm sure there's no connection
Ironic,
at all.
huh? Well, I think I should also add context here. Ethel Cain's entire brand is sort of playing off of the Southern Gothic aesthetic. I read through Ethel Cain's Wikipedia. It says that this person is biologically male and identifies as a trans woman, but was born Hayden Silas Horner, now 26 years old, and all of the aesthetic and brand around his music is about religion and the Bible Belt and the type of values that these so-called hillbillies have. There's a lot of messaging about sexuality and gender, obviously. And I just want to read this excerpt here. Ethel Cain came out as gay to her family at the age of 12, and on her 20th birthday publicly came out as a trans woman. Reflecting on this, she recalled, "It was made clear to everyone that I was not like other people. Whenever I started to develop, I started to come into my own as a trans woman. We were a house divided. It was me versus my whole town." The singer identifies as bisexual and also autistic, which she learned upon seeking a diagnosis in adulthood. Reflecting on how being autistic has impacted her artistry, she stated, "It definitely heightens the sensory everything." And then reflecting on religious beliefs, having come from a Southern Baptist upbringing, Ethel Cain said she still considers herself a Southern Baptist. "Whether I like it or not, God always has and always will be a huge part of my life. Whether he's being used as a comforting figure or a threat, I've always been surrounded by it. It's not really something you can walk away from, and I'd rather just sit with it than be like, F the church." And in August 23, Ethel Cain revealed that all of her family have since left the church, though she clarified they are still religious in some ways. And in 2022, Ethel Cain posted that she does not consider herself a Christian, nor is someone who cares about religion, but still abides by the values that she was raised on, such as kindness, graciousness, and loving thy neighbor.
Well, I don't know about graciousness and loving thy neighbor, but kindness has been a weaponized term for a very long time.
So I guess that in Ethel Cain's worldview, you can vocally support and encourage murder against people who have more money than you, and that can coincide perfectly with a Christian worldview that involves loving thy neighbor and being gracious and kind.
What's interesting is I see the logical through line to all of this down the way with everything that's been going on with the fires. So they're complaining about the cost of healthcare. Well, if we're talking about home insurance, what happened was the locations of all of these homes in the Palisades were in such a dangerous place because of the risk of fires that all of these insurance companies needed to raise their rates to cover their risk. And the California said, no, you can't do that. So what did they do? Well, they didn't listen. They just dropped the policy because as a business model, they are not required to cover your risk at their own expense. Yeah. So they just stopped. What they would love is for the same thing to happen in medical care, because what they could then do is say they would love for the government to impose those costs, or that strict rule, so they can't raise costs, so that then eventually they pull out and then everybody needs to go to like a single payer government tier system, which is funny because then all I see here is just terrorism. That's all this is. It's to make people scared to go out and live their lives as normal. That's not cool. That's not hip or edgy. It's certainly not a way to promote your music. It's just a form of terrorism.
This certainly sounds like a post from someone who doesn't understand the gravity of having a platform. If you have any sort of following whatsoever on social media, or even if you don't, there's a high likelihood that actual unmedicated schizophrenic people follow you on social media. And that's something that you should probably just keep in the back of your mind, or sometimes in the forefront of your mind, when you're deciding how to voice your opinions about these things. this isn't really so much an opinion as it is a call to action.
Yeah.
And seems like if we find out this instigated someone to do something violent in the real world at the encouragement of this person they idolize, you should be liable for that and the loss that follows. But I don't think any of this is really about healthcare or any of the political issues listed there, gun control, whatever.
What do you think
It's about resentment. The eat the rich mindset. It's all about resentment. And you can even see that from these prior comments in interviews that Ethel Cain has done. It's always been a me against the world mentality. It's always been a victim mentality for years now. I mean, you can see in that comment, ever since I came out as gay when I was 12, it was me versus my entire hometown.
Yeah.
I guarantee, that is prime main character syndrome, and I guarantee 99% of people that crossed paths with you in your hometown didn't know you were gay and definitely didn't care that you were gay or trans or whatever the hell else you identify as.
Our phones and the way that we kind of have this mirror back to ourselves, and we have our own social medias, we have our own pages, has made everyone feel like they're far more important than they are. That they feel like they are the main character in a lot of respects. I actually kind of take the opposite view. Knowing that people don't care is unbelievably freeing.
It's a big relief to you.
I don't people don't care. And look, it doesn't mean that people don't get self-conscious. Like when you're out in public and you feel like something doesn't look right and you feel like everybody's staring at you. Maybe you feel like there's something on your face, or you feel like people are staring at you. That's something that everybody's felt at maybe one time or the other, but then you have to realize, look, most people don't know or care, or even if they notice, they're not going to remember it in T-minus 5 seconds. And that's something you should teach yourself to really understand and value, because it's unbelievably freeing to not have to think about how you're the main character, because you're not, because none of us really are.
Yeah, I think this is also the type of behavior you can come to expect from Gen Z pop stars who are going to take up the mantle going forward.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Thankfully, Chapel Roan hasn't been calling for terrorist acts on her Instagram, but, it's the same kind of approach to social media where they just blab everything. They just have no filter. They have no professionalism, no decorum. That's what I can expect from anyone who's Gen Z that's going to be the next vanguard for the pop industry.
It seems to be a very good indicator of a shift in cultural values as to what is being promoted by these labels and stuff.
Definitely.
Like that. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.